5 questions about the D-line. Number 1, does Will Anderson become elite? That's really one of the most important questions on the football team. One of the most important questions on this football team, does Will Anderson become elite? We talk a lot about the CJ Stroud contract being due after this season, or at least him being eligible for it. Will Anderson's in the same category. He was in the same draft. He was drafted minutes after CJ Stroud, and he also plays one of the most expensive positions in football. It is going to be fascinating to see how every car salesman's dream, Nick Caserio, handles these extensions. It's also going to be very, very interesting to see if Will Anderson does become elite, what that looks like. You've already given Danielle Hunter his extension, which is a 1-year extension, which means he's under club control for 2 years, 2025 and 2026. If Will Anderson becomes elite, you're going to be paying Will Anderson and CJ Stroud at the same time, and you're probably going to do some maneuvering to where you kind of separate that out. But Will Anderson becoming elite, not going to be cheap. And quite frankly, it's kind of a non-negotiable at this point. We talk about it like there's a good case scenario and a bad case scenario, but when you give up what they gave up for Will Anderson, eventually it's got to happen. It's just a matter of whether it happens this year or not. It's also a matter of if Will Anderson's able to stay on the field, which he hasn't been terrible at, but it hasn't been 100% consistent. So that's question number 1. Question number 2, can the interior do their part? We know the edge guys are elite, but the interior at times last year, there was times where opposing teams were running the ball probably a little bit better than DeMeco Ryans would have liked for them to do. And it's not like you invested much in the D-line. We talked about the fact that they get comfortable with their guys and they bring back the D linemen that in a lot of NFL situations you would perhaps see roster churning a little bit more. They get comfortable. Sheldon Rankins, come on back. 1 year older in a very blah year in Cincinnati for a number of reasons. Foley Fatukasi, banged up last year, 1 year older, come on down. Mario Edwards, kind of felt like you got as much as you could possibly get out of Mario Edwards. You bring him back. Kurt Heinisch, still around. Tim Settle, no problem with that. But starting D lineman, maybe the expectations jump up a little bit. Although he did say that he was kind of focused on his diet, feeling a little bit faster this year. But the D line, can they do their part? Can they hold it down? You know, and the other part of this is the edge guys. They're so good at their job that they probably make it easier for the interior D line to hold it down, which is why the Texans are probably comfortable not investing as much, on top of the fact that you only have so much you can invest at every position. And the D-line kind of took the back seat. You also have the elite corner duo and a really good secondary. So it's almost like you don't expect much from the D-line. But I will say, much like we talked about the tight ends last week, I think that D-line is going to be something that they're really going to emphasize and invest in next offseason as well, whether it's with a pick, whether it's in free agency. I don't see them like breaking bread for anyone, especially with the bills that they got due after year 3 for CJ and Will and the other guys that they're paying. But I do think that much like the tight end, the defensive line is something that they're going to invest heavily in. And I also think they kind of fell in love with Dalton Schultz and brought him back a couple more years. It's kind of what they do on the D-line, but they're not. There aren't any bad contracts on the interior D-line that you look at and say those are just really, really bad. They just really haven't invested as much. And hell, when you're investing what you invested in Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, that's maybe one of those examples of, I'll say it again, iron sharpening iron for DeMeco Ryans. Question number 3. Is there any upside outside of the elite edge duo? Where's the upside? In other words, their best football's ahead and you could see them being a part of things for a while. Is it Tommy T? Is that all you got? There's not really any upside, whether it's depth guys, like most of the depth guys that you like, which I like what Derek Barnett does. I like what Taylor does. I like the best case scenario with DeMeco Autry. I like what Tim Settle can do. I like Sheldon Rankins. If you give me what Sheldon Rankins was 2 years ago, that's fine. But how high is the upside on this D-line outside of Will Hunter and Danielle Hunter? Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. Excuse me. Where is it? Because I don't think it really exists. And you look at the wide receiver position, like there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of upside there. Like Christian Kirk could have a really good year. We know what Nico Collins does. And then the rookies, there's some upside there. Even Justin Watson, DeMeco Ryans is calling him one of the most consistent guys in the league. There's not a lot of upside. There's not a lot of young talent on this D-line to really get excited about. So that's question number 3. Question number 4, Nick Caserio said that if he was walking down a dark alley, he would like to have this guy on his side. And this guy's just a badass. He's everything, blah, blah, blah. DeMeco Autry. What do they do with DeMeco Autry? Is DeMeco Autry in a perfect scenario? What if Dylan Horton and Solomon Byrd have awesome camps? And you feel like the previously mentioned upside question, the answer to that is Dylan Horton and Solomon Byrd. Do you move on from DeMeco Autry? How does he fit in? How does he hold up? 35 years old. He's turning 35 years old tomorrow. I'm not sitting here saying that's old. He's not even middle-aged yet. But in football years, when you look at how banged up he was last year and everything that he went through, it's a little bit old. How does that fit in? What does DeMeco Autry look like? There is a wide range of possibilities when it comes to DeMeco Autry. Like with Will Anderson, we're saying he's going to get better. Is he going to get this much better or that much better? Danielle Hunter. Is Danielle Hunter going to be Pro Bowl or is he going to be all pro? But he's going to be in that range. And he made it for the 5th time to the Pro Bowl. We have a pretty good grasp of what Tim Settle and Sheldon Rankins are going to do. They're both going to be on the team, and we've seen their best. And we wonder if it's going to be close to that or a notch below. I could see a scenario where DeMeco Autry gets cut, and I could see a scenario where DeMeco Autry is a very nice piece to the puzzle when it comes to the D-line. There's a wide range of possibilities when it comes to DeMeco Autry, and it's really just going to depend on how he looks. Like, do we go to training camp in 9 days, and do I walk out there and look out on the side field and see DeMeco Autry rehabbing to get back? I see him on the field. I know there's also the case that, well, you know what you're going to get with him, but they got to see him at some point. Like with how thin this D-line is, and we talk about the lack of upside, can you have a guy that's only going to play X amount of games? Got to see what's going on with him. And I know a lot of people will say, well, he had the PEDs last year. I don't know that he was going to hold up the whole time. So DeMeco Autry, there's a lot going on there. I know Nick Caserio said he's a bad MFer. He said that he take him out in the alley and all that type of stuff. This is a guy that's badass. I don't disagree with that. He's also 35 years old, and he's also not getting any younger. Question number 5 on the D-line. Did they get too comfortable on the interior? And this is kind of connected with the churning. And I just get excited when I see DeMeco Ryans and company find a guy like Derek Barnett out of nowhere, or find one of these guys on defense, and all of a sudden you see him playing a lot of snaps. Like, is there too much of a comfort level at D-line where you're not necessarily increasing the upside and you're just going with what you know? I mean, we saw the Texans try, going back to what we talked about earlier, we saw them try to go get Eric Armstead. That would have been a mistake. And that if they would have went and got Eric Armstead, that might have been one of the worst contracts that they brought in. Fortunately for them, Jacksonville made the trade.